Hello, and welcome to the show. Welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're joining me live or catching me on replay, happy Tuesday. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. I'm Winnie, your host, an award-winning financial pro, Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor. And it's wonderful to be joining you live here. We're on many different social media platforms, so jump in, say hello. It'd be great to hear from you. Now, let's start off and tell you how the market's doing. Fortunately, the market's doing quite well today. Green across the board. Dow is currently up 122 points. Nasdaq's up 227 points. And the S&P 500 is also in the positive, up 38 points. So it's sort of a nice rally that we're having. As investors are sort of trying to shake off a lot of the fears and concerns coming out of the federal government. So stocks have been seeing a little bit of rebound. Now, some of that is coming from some optimism in the AI space, of course, but we do know that China's tariffs have officially hit U.S. imports. So China has imposed up to a 15% tariff on things such as U.S. coal, liquefied natural gas, crude oil, farm equipment, as well as selected vehicles. So this will become effective on February 10th. Now, the U.S. has currently temporarily paused tariffs on our friendly neighbors in Canada and Mexico. Trump has agreed to delay these tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days, easing some of the market concerns, and that's what you're seeing kind of play out in the financial markets as well. But analysts do say that continued trade tensions are going to cause more volatility in the financial markets because, the U.S. consumer likes to know that they're going to be okay. And certainly they're concerned about rising prices and inflation and all that. In fact, there are some financial firms that are also warning that a prolonged China tariff territory could actually force a lot of things to be more expensive. The things that we enjoy and use on a day-to-day could even be your next smartphone purchase. But of course, exemptions or production shifts may help offset some of these costs. But certainly Trump's tariffs, the pause, of course, has boosted investor confidence throughout in many different markets, in addition to the U.S. stock market here today. Also, we're continuing to follow the story on OpenAI introducing something called deep research. And I want to talk about that today. This is being shared on the New York Times, talking about how OpenAI has unveiled this new technology called deep research. Now, for those of you who use ChatGPT, this is probably something you're looking forward to trying out. It's an AI tool that can help gather and synthesize information from the internet into concise reports. I think we I can see us using this in many aspects of our sort of business life here with my team. But this tool, which is you're seeing being demonstrated on YouTube, uh, and of course to lawmakers in Washington, they're saying that this can complete complex research tasks in as little as 5 to 30 minutes. Talk about time saving. So unlike traditional chatbots, deep research, they say, will function more like an AI agent. They're going to be able to surf the internet. They're going to be able to analyze PDFs, which I know right now ChatGPT can do some of this, but this is to a whole different degree. They're saying that this is going to be helpful in sort of refining searches as well. And OpenAI claims that this tool will provide also citations for sources and also acknowledges where the information came from. But they continue to say that, of course, there is the potential for errors, and they're calling something called hallucinations. They're using a term called hallucinations, which they say could be incorrect or fabricated information. So those are things they're still working on as well. But they said this could really help in a lot of professions, including professions such as finance, science, are saying, and law, by being able to pull this data and research things very, very quickly, and to be able use things that will be usable to business to be able to do the things that we do that take a lot of time, right? A lot of research takes a lot of time. But they're saying access to this now is going to come at a cost. And at what cost, you might say? Well, not once again, another high subscription cost. So you have to think carefully whether or not you really need this. Access is going to be limited to ChatGPT Pro users, which is going to be $200 a month. Now, they do plan to eventually expand availability to their other paid services, but you're definitely not getting this anytime soon on a free service, they're saying. So, this deep research is going to be built on ChatGPT's OpenAI's latest reasoning technology. And so it just continues to evolve. Now, so let me know what you think. If you like it, you don't like it. And, it wasn't that long ago where the New York Times was just talking about how OpenAI and Microsoft talking about copyright infringement issues and whatnot. So there's a lot to be excited about in terms of this technology, but there's also a lot to be worked out. And so it is fun for us to be sitting behind watching how this evolves. And it'll be interesting to see what sort of things will be improved and what technology will be approved and the timeline of getting things done for our clients and our businesses, all that in the future. Yes, something to think about. All right, I see Dale, and thank you so much for being here. And also thank you so much, CrossX Fighter, for being here and sharing your thoughts as well. It's great to have you here. Let me know if, what you think about these stories. And of course, how this might or may not relate to your own life. Definitely jump in comments. We'd love to see your thoughts on this. Now, this is one I think is going to impact most of us. We've talked about inflation, but did you know recently there's been a lot of news? This is being shared on Fortune. Well, the tariffs, Trump's tariffs, are now also impacting, of course, grocery prices and concerns there. In fact, a recent article coming on Fortune by Sydney Lake talk about how Costco shoppers, warehouse shoppers, are now panic buying eggs. Remember when the beginning of the pandemic occurred and people were stocking up on things like toilet paper and like those necessary items? Well, now people are now panic buying eggs because this is now not only a shortage of eggs, but it's leading to very long lines and shortages as these tariffs on imported goods continue to cause havoc in the normal life of many, many consumers. The situation actually got just worse because of an avian flu outbreak, which infected about 23 million chickens, which then further reduced egg supply and has caused an increase in egg prices. In fact, before we jumped on, I even read that a very popular pancakes restaurant here in the United States actually is saying that the prices of pancakes, they had to show that it was an extra 50 cents just because of the increase the cost of the eggs in the pancakes. So egg prices have jumped 8.4% between November and December, with Costco customers reporting prices of $7.69 for 2 dozen eggs, which is double in some locations, in fact. So now shoppers are even reselling eggs on a Facebook marketplace. This is crazy. This, even though, technically Meta bans selling animal products, but they're using sort of vague terms such as carton instead of eggs. Well, Trump has announced 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% on China. This is going to affect groceries such as fruits, your vegetables, your avocados, beef, maple syrup, all that stuff. So even though some countries that the tariff has been put on pause for 30 days, we know that 30 days can change very, very quickly. So a lot of people are reading this information, hearing the news, and trying to make the best decisions for them and their own families. And so a recent ING report estimated the tariffs could cost $835 per person annually, or $3,340 for a family of four. So this is definitely going to cost the bottom line. The question is are you going to be able to absorb that cost into your monthly or annual budget? Now, a lot of families we know in the United States are living paycheck to paycheck. So this is definitely not good news. Now, they're saying that there's a lot of viral videos occurring right now, chaotic videos of Costco shoppers, eggs cracked on floors, shoppers rushing to grab multiple cartons of eggs. Let me just say, I haven't been to Costco lately. If you have, if you've seen this in your own neighborhood, let us know. Now I'm like a little worried. I need to make a Costco run very soon. And I'm just like, well, maybe I got to pick up some eggs, but how many that will be? Hopefully, I don't have to buy too many, right? Because I don't really want to keep that many eggs, but maybe I need to do that. So, cross egg spider Joshua, let me know. Have you seen impact on eggs, or is this on your radar? Maybe it is now. All right, speaking of other changes, the Trump administration, let me just say, is giving us a lot of content to share. The Trump administration, Trump has signed an executive order to now also establish a U.S. sovereign wealth fund. This is being shared on CNBC by Jeff Cox. Now, you might wonder, what is this? What is a sovereign wealth fund, and does it even impact me, right? Now, this is aimed at economic development. Now, the fund could finance infrastructure projects, they're saying, such as airports and highways, and even expand U.S. influence in areas such as the Panama, and also Greenland. Right? There's been a lot of talk about the U.S. Having, or the Trump administration has interest in taking back Panama and wanting to acquire Greenland as well. I even heard about some talk of bringing Canada to this discussion as well. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is saying that the fund would be set up within 12 months using U.S. assets to generate returns for the American people, he's saying. Now, Trump has suggested that this fund could even be used to buy TikTok, which faces, of course, a lot of pressure there. And but is this such a novel idea, or is this something that's been used before, you ask? Well, sovereign wealth funds historically are typically used by resource rich countries, nations with budget surpluses. So think China, Norway, Singapore. But here in the United States, well, we have significant deficits. So typically it wouldn't be used here. But the fund is aiming to reduce reliance on issuing treasury debt, lessening tax burdens, and promoting long term economic security. But the question is, are you taking from one bucket and moving into another bucket? So, Commerce Secretary nominee Howard Lutnick and Bezant are planning to present a strategy within the next 90 days on how the fund will operate. Now, people are already concerned of potential transparency issues and risks of corruption if governance isn't strictly enforced. So, the question to you is this: how do you feel about this? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Or you want to kind of wait and see? I mean, I'll let you be the judge of that. Now, speaking of changes and big change, and even more things that we should be thinking about, is the topic of climate change. Now, here in Southern California, let me tell you, we are very, very aware of climate change, especially given the wildfires that have created havoc for so many loved ones and family and friends, many people that I know. It's a big, big issue, and it continues to be a big issue. It's definitely impacted also our air quality here as well in California. But climate change, they're saying, could wipe out $1.5 trillion in U.S. home values by the year 2055. This is being shared on CBS News by Kate Gibson. Climate change, they say, will erase almost $1.5 trillion over the next 30 years, worsening economic inequality, according to a recent study by the First Street Foundation. Now, they're saying, in addition to that, we've already seen soaring insurance rates are making major cities unaffordable. In fact, I read another study, another thing that talked about just the increases of insurance premiums here in California. But nationwide, so goes beyond California, nationwide, homeowner premiums are expected to rise by 29 plus percent by 2055. So how do you feel about that? If you're a homeowner and you're paying homeowner insurance premiums now, that could jump by almost 30%. That's crazy, right? Well, 55 million Americans are projected to relocate due to climate related risks, with over 5 million moving this year alone. So states such as California, Florida, Texas have absorbed about 40% of the $2.8 billion in disaster costs since 1980 and are going to face some of the steepest insurance hikes yet. In fact, Miami's insurance premiums could quadruple. So cities like Jacksonville, Tampa, New Orleans, Sacramento, they're saying could be tripled or even doubled rates. Property values in some California, Florida, and Texas counties may actually drop by 10% to 40% in the upcoming decades. And recent wildfires here in Los Angeles have already caused mass evacuations, dozens of deaths, and widespread destruction, really highlighting the crisis of climate change, right? So I put this out there because it is a financial story and it's something to think about as we start to decide where we're going to live, how we're going to live, and really sort of the consumer decisions that all of us get to make. So, in addition to voting, we can also make our voices heard by where we decide to spend our dollars. So, something to consider, right? And of course, wildfires here in LA could be the costly of US history. In fact, this is reporting by Vox. The LA wildfires have killed 29 people already, destroyed 16,000 structures, businesses, homes alike. Insurance losses are estimated to be 28 to 45 billion dollars, surpassing Hurricane Katrina's $200 billion cost. So, with higher insurance rates, inflation, job losses, this is definitely having a big financial impact in many of the areas affected here. Under California's FAIR Plan, the last resort fire insurance program, it's definitely struggling. Rising costs of $153 billion in 2020 now is at $458 billion in 2024. So the FAIR Plan could just run out of cash, forcing higher premiums for homeowners here in the state of California. But private insurance are actually, many of them are actually leaving California, making it even harder for us to secure coverage. Now, if you think it's a California only issue, unfortunately, I have bad news. It's probably going to be affecting everywhere but outside of California as well, because there have been rebuilding challenges, worker shortages, and with climate adaptation policies, future disasters could actually just be more expensive. In fact, State Farm is already calling for an urgent rate hike because of the California wildfires. That's being reported by the New York Times. So they're requesting now a 22% average rate increase. And they are actually California's largest home insurer. So with all that, everything is going to cost a whole lot more because of climate change as well. Now, speaking of that, I told you we have so much to talk about this episode. Now, this is just in 1 week. So we're just have to keep on top of this news. It's just like a lot of news. Let's just say this. The Trump administration is definitely very productive. They're getting a lot of the things that they said they wanted done in a very short amount of time. And this is the thing is we sort of need to just follow the discussions and kind of predict what's going to happen, how it's going to affect us ourselves personally in our household budgets. And this is another thing that needs to be on your radar. Being reported by CNBC, talking about how the tariffs could also hike drug prices and worsening shortages. Now, if you're on any medication, or if your loved ones or people that you know are, well, President Donald Trump has announced new tariffs on many of the countries we talked about already, Canada, Mexico, China as well. But drug trade groups warn that these tariffs could increase medication shortages and raise healthcare costs here for Americans. Now, why is that? Well, the US heavily relies on imports for our generic drugs and pharmaceutical ingredients, with China being a major supplier of these active ingredients. So, generic drug makers who are already struggling with low profit margins actually may be forced out of the market completely, reducing affordable medication options for you and I. In fact, the Healthcare Distribution Alliance is warning that tariffs could stress the pharmaceutical supply chain, which affects patients in hospitals at a time where we probably don't need this, especially since we're seeing a lot of avian flu, H5N1, throughout the United States, impacting our cost of eggs and everything else. So, medical devices could also be impacted. Many manufacturers actually rely on Mexico, China, and India for components and some products. So, although currently tariffs are being named for Canada, for Mexico, and China, I don't know like if that's going to include other countries, but I think that's sort of the big question mark right now. So some US groups support tariffs on certain countries, but not other ones. But they're saying that this is going to really impact the things that we need, medical supplies, such as PPE, right? Such as things that hospitals need. So experts predict that drug prices could rise long term with potential shortages of essential medical medicines and patients and everything else. And this could be really detrimental for people who have that need. And if hospitals have to worry about shortages, that's also could impact the way that they provide good quality healthcare to all of us as well. So I wanted to make sure to share that with you. This is the news that's coming out currently on the financial side. Let me know what you think. We're going to continue to update you. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about in the coming weeks, if not the next few years. But I'll try to keep you updated on all the things financial that I think should be on your radar to protect you and your loved ones in your household so that you can make smart decisions on how to navigate. In fact, I shared out a big thread this morning on how you can, you know, make those financial decisions, at least in the short term, in terms of preparing for tariffs for you and your own household. And with that, let's take a look at the market. Currently, the Dow is up 125 points. Nasdaq's up 264. S&P 500 is up 43. 5 more minutes left before the market closes here. So I think we're going to end up in a nice positive day today. But with that, thank you so much for being a part of today's Level Up Live. Do me a favor and like and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest insights. And of course, if you want to watch past episodes of Level Up, you can check out NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and of course, wherever you're streaming, following our stream online today. And when sharing an episode, thank you so much for tagging at Winnie Sun. I've been seeing your shares. I truly appreciate them. And of course, if you ever want to check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun, which is our podcast, you can check out that on Apple Podcasts or wherever you tune in. With that, be well. I'll see you again very, very soon. And thank you so much for all the shares. I've been getting a lot of messages from you of things that you want to make sure that hit our show in the future. With that, be well and take care. Bye-bye now.